Cool, man. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm in a little different spot. I'm like downstairs in our basement. It just worked weird. Like I'm at home, the baby's at home, so we might hear a baby wake up from a nap here in a little bit too.
You kicked out of the house?
I'll stay. The baby's upstairs though. We just might
Oh,
hear her chit chatting about something.
got it.
So how's your day going? How's everything going?
Pretty good. Been demoing Basecamp 3 for some beta testers, and it's always fun to show people what you've been working on for a while. And then you also run into soft or like sore spots that you thought you'd fixed up, and you're like, oh, that didn't work. And so that's always fun too, but good. It's all part of the process, but it's fun. It's great to see people's reactions and see what people pick out and pick up on and like, and it's fun to watch people too when I'm demoing. I usually use Skype or Hangouts, and I can see sort of in the corner of my eye someone's reaction to something. It's sort of like reading a crowd when you're speaking on stage, so it's kind of cool. Anyway, make mental notes of the things that resonate and don't resonate.
Yeah. What was an example of something that like didn't work out, or like yeah, like you don't have to share it obviously, but was there something that stood out that you were expecting to work out that didn't?
Um, well, we had a couple bugs and stuff. That
Okay.
one bug that actually came up was, so in Basecamp, in the new Basecamp, there's these tools you can turn on or off for your projects depending on what you want. And it turns out that I just so I turned off. I was going through some of our real projects. When I demo it, I show real projects, and I turned off this to-do list for this one project, and then I turned it back on. And what that ended up doing was we had a bug. It blasted everybody who was assigned to-dos new notifications, and then also like filled up the activity stream with all these things. So it's like, but we kind of wouldn't have spotted that. And I mean, we probably would have through QA, but we hadn't spotted it yet. And so that was sort of a embarrassing one, because I saw some people talking elsewhere saying like, oh my God, why is everyone getting notifications for these they already completed? And like, oh shit, that was me. But then there's things that like, we're doing this new client feature for Basecamp 3. And sometimes it totally resonates. Like people are like, oh my God, this is exactly what I need, because my clients are screwing up my project, or like I got in trouble once because I had someone say something in the wrong place and a client saw it, that whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for building this. And then someone else was like, well, I want my clients to have complete access to everything. I don't ever want to hide anything from them. So it's kind of, it's just interesting, and we have a way to deal with that too. But that's not sort of the golden path. The golden path is like you can decide, you expressly decide what the client should see versus hiding things from the client. The client can't see anything unless you expressly share something with them, which is sort of the opposite this other company wanted. But we have the other path as well. It's just not the preferred path that we suggest in the app. So anyway, little things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, demos are fun though. They're time consuming because I've got a lot of work to do also, but it's super important work that I do this too.
Right.
This is, by the way, this is the kind of thing, this actually is a good little topic, which is I could certainly have someone else give demos. Like I could say, hey, you got some free time, can you give some demos? But I really feel like that's my responsibility. I want to know the product inside. I feel like I do, but I want to prove to myself and to customers that I know the product inside out. I want to be able to sell this thing to people. I want to know exactly how it works, how everything works, so I can answer every question. And I want to run into things that are soft spots, and I want to see how people react to things when I show them, and I want to see what resonates and what doesn't. And then I can take that insight and share it with other people on the team. But I feel like it would be easy for me to say, that's not my job, or I'm too busy to spend 4 hours a day with 4 customers showing them something that they may or may not use. But at this moment, it's the most important thing I think I can be doing. So, but it's time consuming because I've got other things to do too. But I feel like it's super important that I do this.
Yeah. And it's
You
one
ever,
of those things. What's that? Well,
sorry, do you ever wonder about that? Like how to spend your day? Because something like I can design 3 or 4 or 5 web pages in an hour, like if I need to, like, you know, but I can only give one demo
Right.
to one customer in an hour. And it's like, when you think about how your time is split up, I mean, I think it's absolutely worth it. And I want to do it. It is time consuming. So sometimes you just still wonder, when am I going to get this other work done that I need to do?
Yeah. Some of this, so, I mean, we, yeah, I mean, we go through this too. I mean, we've been doing, in a little bit of a different way. I mean, we haven't been doing, we've been talking about doing more demos. You know, we talked about yesterday, like I've been giving out a phone number for people to call me if they really want to chat. But I still try and funnel, you know, I still try and encourage them to, you know, email support, because we answer people super fast. And if they email me or call me, they might get voicemail. They might not get me very fast. But I do really like demo. I mean, I really do like demos and watching people use stuff from everything. And it's like, I like all aspects of it. Like I like being there and doing it firsthand, but I enjoy just watching other people use a product. And of course, like you asking your own customers to do it are great too. But in a pinch, I've actually really enjoyed usertesting.com. I forget what it costs now. It's like, I don't even know. It's not that much. It's reasonable, but you know, for whatever it is, I'll make it up at the moment. $50, $70. I'm not even sure. You can get a few people using your app and just recording it, and you know, it's a little fake, because it's usually people who aren't your customers. It's people who may just, you know, they're doing it for the paycheck of getting paid to do user testing. So it's a little fake, but they run into, you know, just common stuff too. Like they can't figure out where a share button is. They can't figure out how to sign up or invite somebody. I mean, those are like pretty typical problems that are really good to bump into. And so there's a lot of value even there. If you're in a pinch and you can't find, you know, I was doing this early on with Draft. Like I don't even have any customers yet. I'm just, you know, by myself. I was sending this thing through user testing, and it was like, oh my God, it's eye-opening watching people use this product. So I would use that. Obviously, best to talk with your own customers. And so we've done that too. Especially some of the new stuff we've been developing. Like we just did, you know, we just improved importing in Highrise, the design, but also the errors being reported. And Ren, she led this, and she was doing, you know, she was kind of in charge of doing a lot of the user testing and demos of this. But all of us were also, she invited all of us to also be there. So we were all, not all of us at one time, but at least one other person was there during all of these interviews, taking notes and just watching. And so I did a few of these, just watching and taking notes and talking to the people doing it too. But I really just wanted to observe. It really is it's time well spent. But on the flip side, we do have this situation we're now in where it's just like we have a boatload of things that we want to do. Like I don't wake up in the morning like pondering like, what should we do today? I mean, like there's just this insane list of projects. Right. And so when I think about interviewing more people, I get a little overwhelmed, because it's just like, man, I kind of don't want more ideas. Like we've got enough. And maybe that sucks to say, but it's just like, we keep hearing a lot of the same things, and they're all on our list of things that we would like to see too in the product. So it's just like, it's hard for me to do another interview where it's just like, yep, you know what, we would like to do that. It's on our list, but I don't know when we're going to get to it, months from now possibly. So it's hard to hear more ideas or get more input in some of the situations we're in now.
You know, it's partially the reason I'm doing the hang on, I just dropped something. The reason I'm doing these, there's a couple different reasons. One is I want to just get I want to have like firsthand experience seeing people and talking to people about the product. But also, we're not done with a couple key things in the product yet. And I don't want people to fall into or walk over a landmine early and stop testing it because they run into something. So like, we're currently completely redoing the way we onboard new users or new people, and it's kind of late in the game, but we're tweaking the design now, and it probably will be ready in about a week. But I don't want to lose a week of beta testing, so I am just kind of walking people around the landmines to show them like, this will be better. I want you to get I want you to get started on this thing now, because there's a lot of other things you can help us with as far as feedback and whatnot, and it all works. It's just kind of a nasty setup process right now because we're in the middle of rewiring some things, And so part of it is like I kind of have to walk people through that because it's not. I don't feel confident in just letting people have it right now.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a consequence of us making some changes late in the game, but so be it. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, but I agree. I agree that you should, because I've been in situations where I haven't, and I've regretted it. And sometimes you find yourself in a situation you really can. I'll explain some more, but like with usertesting.com, you kind of, it's very hands off. You're just saying, like, you give people a script, or you give people some like instructions, like, hey, go sign up for this thing and try it out. And what sucks about that is, like, when they run into a landmine, or they run into a situation where you're like, well, yeah, like, I haven't really thought about that yet. I haven't designed it. I know it sucks right now. They fixate on it, like, and that's risky, because then they lose all the time that you're paying for, or stuck on something that doesn't work, when it's just like, oh no, get past it, please.
Yeah.
We did this with the iOS app. I mean, we just released an iOS app recently this year, brand new high-res iOS app, and that one's tough to demo, right? I mean, so we basically just took thousands of names and invited them to, I forget what hockey, or one of these
Yeah. Yep.
I forget one of these there's like these beta testing apps for your iOS app, and it's tough because it's very hands off. You just invite people, and of course it was just a beta version. Half the things that we wanted to do we hadn't done yet, and so a lot of people get stuck on that feedback, like, what, I can't view company fields, this thing is terrible. And it's just like, no, we know, I'm sorry you've hit that, we know it's going to get added, but please, like, let it. It's yeah, you're doing the right thing, because yeah, it sucks when they do fall into one of those landmines, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, the product's not done. So like there's some of those around, and some of them are early on because we're redoing a piece. And so anyway, we don't need to rehash that, but that was important. So one thing I was actually, I was writing up the topics this morning, some thoughts for the show. And one of them I wrote and then I erased it because I wasn't sure how to write it, but I think I can explain it well. I'm going to schedule a binge. So like I am going to, I don't like to pull all-nighters, but I love working at night. So like all-nighters, I'm not into at all. I'm exhausted. It doesn't work. I haven't done one for years and years and years and years. But next week I want to do one. I want to actually work next week from like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Because I want to get a bunch of stuff done. I don't want to be distracted at all, and I want it to be dark outside. Because when it's dark outside, I actually work better in every level. I'm more creative. I just think better. And so I'm actively scheduling an all-nighter. Usually all-nighters are things that you don't schedule. They just like happen. They come on you. But I'm going to schedule one of these, I think maybe for Wednesday night or something. So I'm going to kind of sleep during the day a little bit and just like go hard at night. And then I think I'm going to get 50% of my work done for that week in one night, because I'm just going to stay up all night and just.
That's a great idea.
No one's around. And I'm kind of really excited. Now, another alternative to that is one thing I've actually have considered also is hopping on an airplane and doing that. And flying to San Francisco and then flying back, which would be about 10 hours. Or flying somewhere that's like 3.5 hours and turning around and flying back. Just forcing myself to be in an environment where I can't be bothered, where I'm sort of, it's kind of white noisy and no one around me is going to bug me, and I can put my headphones on and work. So that's another alternative, but I think I want to try the night one, and maybe I'll try a flight another time.
Oh man, these are interesting ideas. So, because I agree with you, one of the challenges I have is, like, recently, like you, I now have a baby who I think just woke up. You can maybe even hear. And so I agree with you. I hate all-nighters. I used to pull them in college. I hated them. I mean, I don't know if anybody loves them. Maybe they do. I hate them. Like, yeah, the next day I feel like crap. And now all the productivity I gained from doing it, now I'm wasting it the next day. Like, I might be awake, but I'm not getting anything done. So it's just like a wash, or even worse, like now I have to regret the next day. But it's like, so I just naturally gravitate towards, like, I built Draft like mostly at night, just because I like it. And I usually during that phase before the baby, I was like up till 3 a.m. every night, but I would like wake up at like 10, 11 o'clock, just because my lifestyle could like do it. But now with the baby, and she wakes up at 6:30 in the morning, like all that's gone, and it sucks. There's nothing I can do about it except for what you're doing. I like it. If I plan ahead, maybe I can fit some of these into my schedule. It's a good idea.
I'll let you know if it works. I'm anticipating it working. But I haven't ever done this, but I have considered hopping on a plane and doing a round trip flight that's about 8 hours or something, just to have those moments. I actually work really well on planes. It's like you're in this sort of compact little area. You can't really do anything else anyway. And you're just kind of focused, and there's white noise, and everyone else is sort of doing something. It's just kind of a cool thing. So I've thought about that too. But I'm going to start with this. I think this all-nighter. Try it out.
There's probably some people. So there was Dustin Curtis, who I think you know. I mean, who you know,
Yeah.
Designer. He had that. I think it was JetBlue that had like a pass. It was like an all-you-can-fly pass for a month or something like that, or he bought it, and so he just flew like crazy. And he was flying to places that he wasn't even going to stay in. So he was doing a lot of that too. I'm curious what his experience was of just like getting stuff done on a plane. It's not relevant exactly, but it's interesting. It's interesting to like, try and get your work done on a plane in that kind of isolation.
Yeah.
Have you thought about trying to go to one of these? I think is it deskpass.com that started? Have you tried thinking about co-working somewhere where you're like a stranger, like, no one knows you. You can kind of like work at a table or in some cubicle, like by yourself for a while.
Yeah, but it's not the same for me because, and I know those, Desk Pass is great. Sam Rosen's thing is like monthly access to like 100 co-working spaces or something, or 50, whatever it is. But it's that the issue for me is not necessarily date. It's more about like actual physical removal from a, like, nighttime is different for me. Like nighttime is just flat out different. I can't simulate nighttime. It's dark, it's quiet. I know people are sleeping. Like I work better in those environments sometimes. So co-working during the day wouldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
And then it's also like when I'm on a plane, I'm in a tube in the sky at 38,000 feet. Like that's where I am. Co-working, you can kind of, you can go somewhere else. Someone can come by and bug you, whatever it is. Like, so I really want to try and just eliminate those things. And I think if I shift, I mean, all-nighter is actually the wrong way to think about this because that would suggest that I'm working all day and all night. I would not work during the day. I would sort of, over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe I'll do one night working shift a week or something and see if I can make that work. See how that goes.
I like it. Let me know how this goes. I'm interested in trying this myself.
I will. The other thing I found is that I work really well in serial, like sort of rapid fire binge style. So like if I'm writing, I want to write like 10 pages of stuff, like separate marketing site pages describing things of the new Basecamp. Like if I'm just in a zone, I just want to bang out 10 of them. And I can get in that zone at night and I can just go and work through the whole night and just get a bunch of things done. And I don't know. I just find that to be a really effective way to work for me personally.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a topic I started writing down. I'm like, I don't know how to write it down, so I'm just going to talk about it and see if it's interesting.
It is. To me, it is. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially there's probably other parents on this or watching this who have preferred to work at night, and it gets taken away, your ability to do that. But scheduling it in, that's a good idea. Yeah, let us know.
We'll see how it goes. What were the other topics we were talking about here?
We were talking about something that we brought up. We might still have time to we'll jam on it for 10 minutes here, but like, how do you handle like, actually this is interesting, kind of talking about how like it kind of flows from asking other people to do demos or asking other people to do things. Like, I'm the fan of not like I don't like hiring too fast. I like being, I think it was like E-Myth was a popular book a long time ago that's still popular today, that talks about how like you should kind of like create a org chart of like your company, even if it's just you and one person, and look at all the different jobs that you do. And I like working that way instead of trying to imagine what that job is. Like I do it myself and then I hire for it, or like, I want to feel the pain of doing that thing before I bring somebody on, so I understand it more. But but by doing that too, like I prefer to like know little bits of everything, of how to do everything. Like it's so for example, like we're working on a new logo, and this is just kind of an iteration on our current logo. Like we've talked on the show before. Like I was originally looking to bringing on an outside contractor or designer or agency to work on it, and the bids have come back, and they've been expensive, or they want to work on it for like 6 weeks and do all this discovery with us, and it's just like, we've got so many things going on right now. I don't really want to make a giant project of it at the moment. Like I feel like we could iterate on it a little bit just now. And so Ren and I, Ren is the lead designer at High Rise, and we're thinking like, well, let's just see where we can get with the current vector art. You know, can we tweak it a little bit? Can we simplify the colors a little bit? And some of it, you know, it's easy to kind of even communicate. It's like, you know, there's some gradients in the colors. Can we just remove the gradients? Like, is there any other kind of simplification we can do? But what's interesting though is like I still love doing that stuff myself also, and it's weird because like she's in charge of this. I mean, and rightfully so. Like I've given her this project, but then like she starts exploring it, and we've got some cool explorations, and she has gone in some paths that I've wanted. But then like of course, because I want to see other things, and I want to see lots of iterations, it's hard for me just to say like, well, can you go do this and do this and do this and do this? It's like, how about I open up, Illustrator, and I start poking around at it, and then it becomes weird because then I feel like I'm stepping on her feet, or I'm taking ownership of her project, and I don't want to do that, but it's hard not to. How do you? I mean, yeah, like, do you run into this yourself? Like, how do you give a project and not take it back and by accident, or feel like you're budging in? And I don't know, does that happen to you?
Yeah, it does. And I there's a great book I recommend reading, which is called Turn the Ship Around. We may have talked about it once before. Did you read that? Have you read that?
I started it just because you recommended it, and it's interesting, about letting. Yeah, go ahead though. Yes, I haven't read it though.
I highly recommend reading that book. It's really interesting, and it's sort of helped me with this problem. But I think the way so there's some of that in the book, which is about not giving orders, but being supportive, and having people, instead of having people ask for permission, have them present their intent. Like, I intend to do this, I intend to do that. And then instead of you giving them permission, they're going to do it anyway, as long as you say, yeah, go for it. So like, they have to have that response. But that's not quite the same thing as what you're talking about here. What I want to get at there is that, like, I think what's important is that you see yourself as a partner in supporting the ultimate solution, not that you present it as way like, I'm taking this over and I'm doing it, but like, here's some other ideas that I want to throw on the table, or here's another riff on it, or here's another concept, or have you thought about this, or tell me why you came up with that, and sort of be more of a collaborator. And one of the ways I've done that is I've stepped way back from actually modifying original designs. So I'm not going, if someone presents something, I'm coming back at them with a rough sketch idea of it, versus let me change the file. Let me go in and like tweak the HTML, or change the structure, or change this Photoshop thing, or change this Illustrator thing. Let me come back with a lo-fi rough sketch, which is more of a suggestion and not an alternative. I think when you come back sometimes with a high fidelity response on something, it's a little bit more like, I'm now jumping in and taking it, versus here's a lo-fi suggestion that could not possibly replace what you're doing, because it's not finished quality. It's just an idea. And that's sort of how I feel like I'm able to chime in on a variety of things, but not hopefully have people feel that I'm telling them what to do or taking over. I'm certain that there's probably some feeling of that occasionally, because sometimes I will jump in and be like, this just isn't working. Like, we really do need to go in a different direction here. We've explored this for a while. It's just not where it needs to be. Like, we need to move on this, because we need to make a call and move on. But I'm trying to do that less and less. And frankly, if that comes up a lot, that's my fault anyway. Like, the fact that if I have to keep jumping in, like, I'm doing something wrong anyway. So it's not even their problem, it's mine. I'm not maybe explaining things properly. I'm not providing enough vision for where we need to go. I'm not making the case clearly enough so people see a solution. I'm holding too much in my head and I'm not sharing enough with people. So I have to kind of reevaluate there. But anyway, basically I would suggest if you have ideas, make sure you're presenting them as a collaborator and not a controller, and that you are sort of going lo-fi on your suggestions so they can't be seen as a point of like replacement, but instead they're additive in that way.
Yeah, like I had, especially on this logo project, I tried to be careful with like, hey, I didn't even send a file back. It was like a screenshot, and it was just like, can we explore this direction? But but I still thought it was too controlling. Probably, I like what you're saying about like I could have just used some scribbles because like in this situation it was really just color exploration. I could have like, hey, I don't even know what I would have used. Like I could have used like whatever, just any kind of tool that I could have just like marked, like I would like to see this building with this color, like let's go that way, and just scribbled on top of it. I like that. I'll try that next time.
Yeah, so I think that's been handy. Yeah, I think as long as it's like not the original source file, then it's sort of this just a suggestion. You know?
Something that I've seen you do, and I've been doing it too, is like I've been screwing around with just like the inspector in Chrome.
Yeah.
Like we're also redesigning some stuff in High-Rise, and she's got some really great stuff. But again, it was one of those things I was just tempted to see what it would look like, explore it a different way, and I just used the inspector in Chrome just to change some values and took some screenshots. Like I didn't want to create a new branch off of her stuff and change it, because again, like that's ownership. That's another, like, okay, I'm gonna have a pull request. Now you have to own my changes, or who owns this pull request, which is a Git or a version control concept that's like about control.
Right.
So that's something I've been doing that I hope helps, but again, it's tricky. It's a delicate situation to be in as a manager, I think.
It is. I jump into the inspector all the time and tweak some stuff. Even, the inspectors now are great. Like you can even, some people don't even know you can but you can like click on something and drag things around and move them in the HTML in the DOM basically, and like actually physically move things without having to edit it. It's like you can kind of mess around pretty quickly, change padding, margin, all that stuff, right? And then I'll take a screenshot of it. And I'm not committing code. I'm not modifying the original source code. I'm just saying, like, here's something I mocked up in the inspector really quick based on something you put together. What do you think of this? Or how about this idea? And then it's not commandeering anyone's code. It's not committing anything. There's no pull request. It's just a picture of it. I throw it in Campfire and people look at it, or I post it as a message or whatever it is. And maybe they implement it, maybe they don't. But it's not like a threatening thing, because it's just a mock-up,
Yeah. Cool. So you got a thing at 4. Let's call it.
Yeah, I got a call right now, so we've done.
We've got like, I forget, like we've got another 70 subscribers or something. We were 670 subscribers. I've even got a little please subscribe. I think right down here there's a little watermark now on our videos to please subscribe.
Oh.
But yeah, please, like it lets us know people are watching this, and we'll keep doing it.
Cool.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks. You too, man.
Thanks everybody for watching. We will talk to you next week.
See ya.